you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, there are only things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show. Family loves you. Doesn't judge us as harshly as the rest of the world because we want you to grow, learn, and do all the things. We are 16, almost 17 years old in August. We are the oldest of a handful of oldest podcasts that started way back when. And we are the longest running podcast that still does daily podcasts in the world. So support the show. Otherwise, we'll haunt you at night and I don't know. We'll scream out at you from under your bed. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss. All those crazy places in it. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their books' success. Today, amazing young man on the show. We're going to talk to him about his books. And the one we'll lead off with here is called The Human's Universe and Its Purpose and Destiny by Robert Flash Kingsley. We're going to get with him and find out all the deets and all that good stuff. He became very interested in pursuing a lengthy independent path of spiritual studies in both Orthodox traditions and non-traditional presentations by celestial beings who are deeply involved with the Earth's development. Hence the need for the human's universe and its purpose and destiny. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Give us your .coms. How can people find you on the interweb, sir?
They can find me very, very well at robertflashkingsleyauthor.com.
So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book?
The book has a very extremely precise title for the fact that the human creatures on the planet, and particularly in the United States, they need to know exactly who they are as flesh beings. We're not turtles, fish, ants, or toads or something. We're special, gifted creatures. We build buildings and do incredible things only because we can access the energy of God to do it.
The energy of God. How do we assess that? Or did you say access that? I think you said. How do we access that?
There's a lot of ways. The religions teach prayer and meditation techniques. The metaphysicians teach more spiritual, in-depth values at trying to get to brain energy and cosmically get at that to bring it forward. But all people have access to it. The entire universe is based on polarity, negative and positive, everything. Everything exists. All powers of energies and everything that we have is based on that. And the human is not any different. The right side of the person has access to all that chemistry that God has provided for us to have ability to see and understand through those techniques. And on the left side is the ego who decides not to observe that very much and just be kind of selfish gains, and they're all about themselves and everything, which is a very popular mode these days by millions of people. It's all about themselves. They don't care what else is happening. They just care about what their life is all about for themselves, but that is not how the nation was built.
How the nation was built? Now, do you talk about this in the book?
Absolutely.
Tell us more about that.
It's very interesting. In the beginning, 250 years ago, and right now, as a matter of fact, the fellows that were interested in putting together a very great republic were metaphysicians amongst themselves. They were either Freemasons or Rosicrucians, which I am one, or Knights Templars, or these types that would access great information from above and combine it into a combination that would be a best physical and spiritual government for the United States of America, which they did. And they all had it all based in a very beautiful pattern under an enormous pyramid over the District of Columbia, which the base of that pyramid still exists as the District of Columbia's border. That big square was a metaphysical 3-mile tall pyramid to protect the interests spiritually, as the Egyptians used to do those type of things, and put our nation in place. And the fellows said to each other, they said, we need a model for all of this. And that model very simply is, in God we trust, because if you do, the basis they built the whole thing, it would work miraculously and be a torchlight to freedom to the rest of the world.
Now, okay, the In God We Trust wasn't added as the official model of the thing till 1864. So is
officially, yes, as official written model, but it existed much before that in principle.
And how did they balance that? Because if you've read the Federalist Papers, the extensive details on how they framed the Constitution or built or debated it, really, too. How does that fit into the separation of church and state, which was their intent to make sure?
That was a very distinct, important part of the process. People are more than welcome to worship the way they feel necessary. There are many different religious values and traditions around that they could choose from. The centermost point of the best ones are God, or the Creator, in the center of it, the definition of it, and how it can be of service to the person who is worshiping.
Now, can I ask you on point? We make sure that a lot of stuff we put forth in the show is factual. So you mentioned that it's the best. What makes it the best? If everyone's free to worship, why can't someone just be an atheist? That's
their choice also. In other words, they don't have to worship necessarily, but they can. But they want to keep church and state separately for all opportunities to be able to participate in whatever level they see fit.
Yeah. Otherwise, we see what's happening today where certain religions are being excluded by the white nationalist KKK regime that we have. And they just, like, I'm in Utah right now visiting my mom, and there's a lot of Mormons here. And I guess the Mormons have been excluded out of the new white nationalist government, what they want to do with the Pentagon. And there's a bunch of other ones. In fact, my Catholic friends have been just shocked at the war that's gone on between the gentleman in the White House in the regime. And they're shocked. The Mormons are also shocked, too. They're like, wait, we supported this. We voted for this. Utah largely votes red. So what you mentioned that certain religions are the best. How does that work? What makes them the best? What qualifies that?
Well, I didn't mean to discern that anything was particularly the best. But
sorry, I just want to clarify that.
There's an assortment out there that think they are the best.
Yeah.
In other words, the religions over the centuries, but the way we're developed an egotistical program of their own.
Yeah.
Excluding the individual from the definition of what we should know, that is the human's purpose as a spiritual entity to take care of that business on their own accord, and also their destiny where they go after they leave this planet.
Yeah, it's like right now we're seeing that with this government. There's like a whole list of religions that got excluded from the Pentagon. Is it the Pentagon's list? I think it's the Pentagon's list. And of course, this is backed by the White House, and so it's funny that, I thought Catholics were cool. I thought Mormons were cool. I thought that, there's only certain religions that are true according to the Pentagon in this new religious. And there's I forget the name of the guy behind it, but he's like the spiritual leader of several of the administration, and what's his face who runs the Pentagon, the drunk guy, and Pete Hegseth. And so they've determined that some religions aren't good enough for the government or good enough to be, I don't know, involved in future things. What they're trying to do now is only people that they want in government are ultra religious people of certain religions, which is surprising to me.
It does. That centuries and centuries of consternation over those kinds of things have to be broken down into what the person is individually made of. I was interested in going to seminary when I was younger because my religious teacher and pastor said, "What are you going to do for a career?" And I said, "Well, I'm not quite sure." He says, "Why don't you go to seminary?" So I started doing that, and I got there, and I heard the arguments. They're saying, "There's nothing or no other way but our own," and all this. And I said, whoa. Wait a minute. There's probably a bigger open mind to this than you may think. So I started independent investigating for 40 years to find out exactly what the spiritual vitality of a human being is and what direction it should be guided. And one of the most charming and most amazing occasions for me was to get involved with Tibetan lamas, pure spiritual entities. Forward. No consternation or bigotry or anything involved with this. The direct metaphysical energy, direct consciousness to the creative power is what they teach and understand. They're very humble about it.
Wow.
And they are very close to the extraterrestrial populations who visit here because they're telepathic. And so are the ones that come here and are telepathic. So between both sources, I was able to learn a lot.
Wow. Now, is that folded into, you mentioned, I've never heard of this religion. I'm kind of new to this you said it's the Rocations that you belong to?
Rosicrucians is a brotherhood dating back from Egypt. And I was very, very, very fortunate to be able to have some direct studies from 17 BC regarding on how that worked. It was very unusual. Very few people get to do that.
Yeah, I Googled it here when you mentioned it because I hadn't. This is why I do the show. I learn stuff all the time. So this is pretty interesting. Is this close to the Tibetan thing, or is the Tibetan thing very different than the...
When you get in the depth of those kind of interests spiritually, they become interrelated because they're pure. And they don't consider egos and personal opinions to interfere with any processes. It's the raw energy of the universe that we receive from the Creator itself, and in a direct sense that keeps it on the straight and narrow.
Okay. And then what motivated you want to write this book? What was the aha moment where you're like, gosh darn it, I'm going to sit down and write this?
Chris, the aha moment was really a special time because after accumulating all this knowledge and in finding out that there's one really spectacular source on this planet of universe knowledge for people to access if they wish, putting all that together, I said, wait a minute. People have to have some kind of a pretty compact, simple explanation as to who they are and how they relate to all this thing from a universe value, because our planet is headed toward being a universe society at some point. If it behaves well enough, it's going to get there.
What does that mean when you say a universe or universal society, you said?
Not universal, universe. Okay. In other words, the accumulation of opinions out there that understand how the process is. Universal means something that's generally accepted by everyone. You got to go by that. That's the definitions.
Now, would those people be, I just want to clarify this, would those people be all the same religion, or would we all just agree that there's an agreement between all parties or something, maybe?
Well, it bases down to not in a kind of an agreement or doctrine, faith program, but understanding the raw energy that you can respond to by accessing it. So in other words, it has a pure responsibility to each other. The Tibetans, for instance, they use a lot of sign language because it's so out of communication linguistically that to get their opinions across, they have sign language to relate to the powers and strength of what they're using. It's a very unusual process. So, but it goes much further and deeper than what traditional religions have been doing on this planet.
Oh wow! And how much deeper is it? Tell us some of the stack on this and how it may be different or more advanced.
I was able to receive direct information through various sources from the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and the Sirians. Those are different star systems with advanced planets like ours.
Oh.
Most of them, they breathe oxygen and have a sun, and on the basis that we pretty much live of, 2 arms, 2 legs, a trunk, and a head. And they're very, very similar in creatures, but have just a little bit different environments than we do, but operate on a similar basis. And through all the eternity of time that they've been able to develop longer than we have, they've gone through the bumps and the consternations that we've done, but they've gotten over it. They've gotten past that, getting to involve the direct information from the source of God in Havona, the central part of the universe, and receiving the energy to make them respond well, and have become very, very solid societies worth the direction that they went.
Oh, okay. Now you mentioned 3 different groups of people, right, and the name sounds familiar, but these are people, where are these people at? They're on other planets then? From
the Sirians are up in the star system, the sisters stars, the Sirius area where they have 7 stars that are fairly close to each other. The Sirians are on one of those planets. And they have just a very benevolent, very kind and basic society that's just wonderful to each other and cooperate well, and they progress and are happy because they are part of the way creation should have them doing things.
Yeah. Now, how did you get this data or information and find out about these people? What is the database resource on that?
There's a lot of interesting areas that some of it I was lucky to come across, just came to me. As a searching person trying to learn, it appeared that this here was that I was able to. In other words, just as I mentioned a little while ago, the information from 1750 BC in Egypt. Wow, was I ever lucky to be able to come across that, the availability of that, and where it was, and how I was able to interpret what it was meaning for the rest of us who needed to understand it further.
All right. It goes in depth, and now have you talked to these people? Do they communicate with you, or you said you discovered this information? So I was wondering how you.
Yes, I discovered the information, but I am not a prophet of saying, speaking to somebody at such and such a plan. I don't do those things.
Okay.
I understand information that I learn, and I try to present it as a normal human being who I think I am, and people can relate to and understand the principles involved that are very valuable to all of us. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago about the Urantia book, which is available on this planet, people can read all about that from celestial beings. It's in print on this world, studied in 26 languages all around the world. And it's not a religion, but it's all about the subjects of a religion. So people can make their own opinions. And part 4, which is very interesting, is the actual life and times teachings given to us by Universe Archives of actually what Jesus said and what his ministry did here, which is fairly close to the Bible, but in more detail.
So what are some of the other things maybe I should have asked you about that are in the book that you want to tease out to people?
Let's see. In the book, I think the prospect of us, particularly in this nation, being of great spiritual value and kindness to each other can benefit so greatly around the world. That was the intention of the Torchlight of Freedom of this nation, to be an example. Right now, we're a terrible example. All the egos are out of control, and there's a nasty at each other in the governments, in the different houses, Congress, and Democrats fighting and bickering amongst each other instead of taking the prospects of God they're supposed to use in making good decision-making process. And if you do that, people come out with the same answers instead of different selfish ones. One thing right here I'm going to add at this point is the celestial beings gave us a clue. They said the keys to what mankind needs to do is learn to harness greed, selfishness, and the desire to control others through the war and dishonest financial policies. That's a bottom line characteristic right there that says this planet needs to get reorganized and see who they are, be kind to each other, and work as a team so all that can be accomplished as other places have done it.
All right. Now, you have a forthcoming book, or a book you're thinking maybe about running. Tell us about that.
Yeah, yes. Very interesting, and it'll be a fun book. These are serious subjects, but the analogy between having an automobile and the driver inside it, the automobile being metaphorically your body, and the driver inside being your spirit and mind, driving the thing around. But when you go get a new car and get in it, you want to take care of that. You don't want to desecrate it. You don't want to have it addicted to things and doing wrong things and wrong gasoline and being in poor health. You want that thing to pure because it's got to drive you around while you experience the entire prospect of it before it gets too old.
Yeah, I'm feeling that now in my age.
Yeah, we want to protect, and in the Bible it says it's the temple for us to live in. And mentioning it that way, we should take very much better care than we do in a lot of cases. But that's just an example of kind of the fun things that are going to be discussed in this book. And it goes on to going to sleep, and then parking your car, and you go up in the bedroom, and actually your mind takes off, as we mentioned earlier. Things like that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I wish my car would heal itself when I sleep, like my body does. When you get that deep sleep, you heal. Your body repairs itself. I wish my car would do that. You'd be like, well, the tire was flat this morning, but got a good nap, and now the tires out of the Viagra kicked in, one of the two. So, yeah, very interesting. That should be. Now, do you have an anticipated release date for that?
It's still in the works, and I'm so busy with what we've been talking about and trying to get my points across with the current book. I can't project the actual physical date right ahead of time, but it should not be too much into the near future.
What do you hope people come away with when they read your book, this one?
The particular ambition for me in putting this together, as I said, was a good guide, easily compact and understandable. So the comprehension of this would say to themselves as they read it, wow, if we do these kind of things together, we will be a great society. Because the love and interest between one another as a human being to each other is the only thing that makes things work well. Yeah. That's in family, that's in government, that's in business, that's in community. And to work on that as a team player and be humble and adjust to people's interests and compare interests so that you come up with equitable decisions is the process of success and how this can all work together, which needs to repair somehow in the consternation that it's in now.
Oh, wow. So as we round out to the show, anything on your website you want to offer or talk about there that's important there that you want to plug out?
I haven't compiled a lot of things onto the website. There's some very interesting short bits about why the book is so important and in a quick sketch so people can get a handle on that. A little bit about my background.
Yeah.
Things are just general, just not a lot of exceptional other things, but it's a good spot.
Yeah. Good spot there. So who's your target audience for this book? Who's the people that should be reading it?
In the beginning, it specializes in targeting an audience who is young, who is flexible, and able to adjust to concepts and principles that are important to us as human beings, because they're the ones that are coming into it now. They're the ones that have to adjust for the future. They're the ones that are going to be carrying the torch. And the young folks are the real prime audience for being able to get a hold of these things, get their egos out of the way so they can start sharing the total spiritual selves with one another and develop properly and get this society on track.
It's an interesting concept. If we can get everybody to agree, I think that's the hardest part, is getting everybody to agree or go a certain way.
Chris, there's an opportunity for that because the energy of God of the universe is a single source. It's pure. We were designed to be able to interpret it through their connection to that. So therefore, once you share the correct sources with one another, saying, oh, I found it to be this way. Oh, so did I. Because they were devoting their spiritual prospects to understanding all these things, then things come together for correct answers, for good direction. And that's why it was designed that way, through one source of the central God in the universe.
All right. So you like writing about these things, you like studying them, and I think you had a previous book. Did we get a plug-in for that? I can't remember.
We did. It was self-published in 1987, but it was very, very advanced, but a lot of fun, very interesting. But a lot of these concepts that I've been mentioning right now were just not easily approachable with folks at that time. I was kind of jumping the gun, but it was a really cool driver's manual. I have to admit that. All the state highways or interstate highways were in there per chapter, and it was in all the metaphysical knowledge I had learned up to that point was being expressed. So it was quite interesting, a lot of fun, but it saw its day, and so I had to march on forward.
March on forward. We're marching on and marching on. So as we go out, give people a final pitch out to pick up your book, find out more about you, and all that good stuff.
Where to get it?
Yeah, and .com.
Yep, studioofbooks.com have volumes available that they're very well prepared and ready for customers to be able to get easily, not difficult, through Amazon or wherever they want to find it. There is in bookstores also. I think that it's in such a way that it's very legible. If I don't say so, or if I do say so myself, I'm an excellent writer. I do a lot of magazine writing for disc golf. I'm a founder of Disc Golf.
Oh, really?
And do a lot of things in personal and intricate intercommunication literary things. So my skills in that make all these topics, which may seem difficult, easy to absorb.
Yeah. That's pretty good. It's been fun to have you on the show and talk about these things. Anything more we need to cover before we go out there, Robert?
I think we have a good map right there.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Robert. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Jonas, for tuning in. Order up the book wherever fine books are sold. It is entitled The Human's Universe and Its Purpose and Destiny by Robert Flash Kingsley. You can find it anywhere, and a link for it on the Chris Voss Show. It's out 2015, 2015. Is that the right copyright we have for this?
That was the original. It's been rebranded in 2024 to be the current edition.
All right. Sounds good. I think it was... Okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Robert. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places in it. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.